Quitting would be easier, but easy never changed your life. Making 2026 non-negotiable also means protecting your focus. Not every invitation deserves your time. Not every opinion deserves your attention. When you're serious about growth, distractions become expensive. You learn to say no without guilt. You learn to prioritize what moves you forward instead of what keeps you busy. This isn't about becoming obsessed. It's about becoming intentional. Energy is limited. Spend it where it matters. At some point, you'll realize something powerful. Discipline isn't punishment. It's self-respect in action. Every time you follow through, you build trust with yourself. That trust becomes confidence. Confidence becomes momentum. Momentum becomes results. And results change how you see yourself. You stop wondering if you're capable because you have proof. Proof comes from action, not intention. This is how transformation starts, not with a massive breakthrough, but with a firm decision repeated daily. One choice stacked on top of another. One promise kept. One excuse eliminated. You don't need to feel fearless. You just need to be decided. Fear loses its grip when there's no debate left, so make it clear. This year is not up for discussion. You're not negotiating with laziness, doubt, or comfort anymore. You decided, and you're moving forward no matter what. Let's be honest for a moment. Motivation feels amazing, but it's unreliable. It shows up when things are exciting, when the vision is fresh, when the energy is high. And then, just as quickly, it disappears. That's why so many people start strong and fade out. They wait to feel inspired before they act. But discipline doesn't wait. Discipline moves first and lets motivation catch up later. If you're serious about changing your life, you have to stop building your future on feelings and start building it on habits. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is intentional. Motivation asks, do I feel like it today? Discipline asks, what did I commit to? And there will be days, many days, when you don't feel like showing up. Days when the alarm goes off and every part of you wants to stay comfortable. Days when progress feels slow and the reward feels far away. That's not a problem. That's the moment discipline was created for. Anyone can work hard when they feel good. Champions are built on the days they don't. Discipline is not about being harsh with yourself. It's about being honest. It's understanding that your future self is counting on the choices you make right now. Every small action is a vote for the person you're becoming. Skip the work, and you vote for staying the same. Do the work, even imperfectly, and you vote for growth. Over time, those votes add up. You don't suddenly wake up disciplined, you earn it through repetition. Here's the truth most people avoid. Motivation follows action, not the other way around. You don't wait to feel ready. You start and readiness develops. You don't wait for confidence, you act and confidence grows. The first step is often uncomfortable, awkward, even frustrating. But once you begin, momentum starts working in your favor. Discipline is what gets you through the door. Momentum keeps you moving. When you rely on motivation, you're always at the mercy of your mood. One bad night of sleep, one negative comment, one minor setback, and suddenly you're off your values. You gain respect for yourself because you're no longer dependent on external pushes. You become self-led. And self-led people are dangerous in the best way because they can't be controlled by moods, trends, or excuses. This is where confidence really comes from. Not from hype, not from words, from knowing that no matter how you feel, you can be trusted to show up. That trust creates calm, it creates focus, it creates resilience. When challenges appear, you don't panic. You adjust and continue. You've trained yourself to move forward even when it's uncomfortable. Discipline doesn't make life easier. It makes you stronger. And when you're stronger, life feels easier to handle. Problems don't disappear, but they stop overwhelming you. You've faced resistance daily, so resistance doesn't scare you anymore. You've learned how to keep going when things get heavy. That skill transfers into every area of your life. So stop waiting for motivation to save you. It won't. Use it when it shows up, but don't depend on it. Build discipline instead. Decide what needs to be done and do it. calmly, consistently, without excuses, because the people who win in the long run aren't the most inspired, they're the most disciplined. Let me shift your focus for a second, because this is where a lot of people lose their power without even realizing it. They spend too much time watching what everyone else is doing, comparing progress, measuring themselves against strangers, feeling behind because someone online looks ahead. But the truth is, the only competition that actually matters is the one standing in your mirror. The person you need to outwork is not them. It's the version of you that settles, hesitates, and chooses comfort when things get hard. Your past self had limits. Your past self had excuses that felt reasonable at the time. Your past self stopped when it got uncomfortable, quit when progress slowed, or played small to avoid disappointment. And that's not something to hate yourself for, it's something to outgrow. Growth doesn't require shame, it requires honesty. If you want a different life, you have to outperform the habits that created your current one. Outworking your old self starts with awareness. You look at who you were and you tell the truth about what wasn't working. Not with judgment, but with clarity. Where did you procrastinate? Where did you quit early? Where did you choose distraction over discipline? Most people avoid this reflection because it's uncomfortable. But discomfort is a signal, not a stop sign. When you can clearly see the patterns that held you back, you gain the power to break them. Here's something important to understand. You don't need to become a completely different person overnight. That idea overwhelms people and keeps them stuck. You just need to become slightly better than yesterday. One more disciplined choice, one more focused hour, one more moment where you do what your old self would avoid. Those small wins stack. And when they stack, they compound. That's how transformation actually happens. Not in dramatic leaps, but in quiet upgrades. Your old self had a ceiling. Not because you weren't capable, but because you hadn't demanded more from yourself yet. Demand changes behavior. When you raise the standard, your actions have to rise to meet it. Outworking your old self means raising that standard daily. It means asking, did I show up better today than I did yesterday? Not perfectly, just better. There will be days when progress feels invisible, when effort doesn't immediately translate into results. That's where comparison becomes dangerous. You look around and assume others are moving faster, so you question your pace. But growth is not a race against others. It's a long-term contract with yourself. Your old self quit during this phase. Your new self stays. That alone puts you ahead. Outworking your old self also means changing how you talk to yourself. The old voice says, "This is enough." The new voice asks, "Can I give a little more?" Not in a way that burns you out, but in a way that stretches you. Growth lives in that stretch. The old self avoided effort to protect comfort. The new self embraces effort to build strength. You don't need external validation to prove you're improving. In fact, the most important upgrades often happen when no one is watching, when there's no applause, when the work feels repetitive, when the excitement wears off. That's where your old self checked out. That's where you lean in. This is how you separate who you used to be from who you're becoming. Sometimes outworking your old self means doing less of what doesn't matter. Fewer distractions, less scrolling, less explaining your plans, more execution, more focus, more silence. Your old self was busy. Your new self is intentional. Being busy feels productive, but it rarely changes your life. Focus does. Depth does. Consistency does. You will notice resistance when you start to outgrow your old habits. Your mind will try to pull you back to what's familiar. It will remind you of comfort, ease, and shortcuts. That's normal. Familiar doesn't mean right, it just means known. Growth always feels unfamiliar at first. That's how you know you're moving forward. There's a powerful shift that happens when you stop trying to prove yourself to others and start proving yourself to yourself. You stop chasing approval. You stop needing recognition. You become internally driven. And internally driven people don't need motivation from the outside. They create momentum from the inside. Your old self waited for external pushes. Your new self moves regardless. Outworking your old self also requires patience. You're undoing years of patterns. You won't erase them in a week, but every day you don't repeat them, they lose strength. Every disciplined choice weakens the grip of the past. You're not fighting who you were, you're replacing them. One action at a time. At some point, you'll look back and realize the work got easier. Not because the work changed, but because you did. The things that once drained you now feel manageable. The effort that once scared you now feels familiar. That's progress. That's proof. That's what happens when you consistently show up as a stronger version of yourself. So don't ask if you're ahead of anyone else. Ask if you're ahead of who you were. That's the only metric that matters. Beat yesterday, then do it again tomorrow. There's a moment in every serious journey where pressure shows up uninvited. It arrives disguised as stress, resistance, or pain, and most people see it as a sign that something is wrong. They assume they've gone too far or chosen the wrong path. But pressure isn't punishment. It's confirmation. It means you've stepped outside comfort. It means you're carrying weight you didn't carry before. And weight only shows up when strength is being built. Most people spend their lives trying to avoid pressure. They design routines that keep them comfortable, relationships that don't challenge them, goals that don't stretch them, and then they wonder why nothing changes. Growth has never happened in ease. It happens in the moments when you feel tested, when quitting seems reasonable, when your old coping mechanisms no longer work. That's not the moment to retreat, that's the moment to lean in. Pain gets a bad reputation, but pain is one of the most honest teachers you'll ever meet. It doesn't lie to you. It tells you exactly where you're weak, where you're unprepared, and where you still have work to do. Avoiding pain doesn't make you safer, it makes you fragile. Embracing pain with awareness and control makes you resilient. Resilient people don't panic when things get hard. They adapt, they adjust, they continue. Pressure forces focus. When life is easy, attention scatters. When pressure is high, distractions fall away. You find out what actually matters. You discover how serious you are about the life you say you want. Everyone talks about wanting more, but pressure is the price of more. Responsibility creates pressure. Discipline creates pressure. Standards create pressure. And those pressures shape you into someone capable of holding greater results. There will be moments when the weight feels unfair. When you ask why it seems harder for you than for others. That question doesn't help you. Comparison under pressure weakens you. What strengthens you is understanding that pressure separates people who talk about success from people who actually achieve it. When pain shows up, you have two options: resist it or use it. Resistance turns pain into suffering. Acceptance turns pain into progress. You don't have to like it. You just have to learn from it. Ask yourself what it's trying to teach you. Where do you need to get stronger? Where do you need more discipline? Where do you need to let go of old habits that no longer serve you? Over time, something powerful happens. The things that once felt unbearable start to feel manageable. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. Pressure that once shook you now sharpens you. Pain that once stopped you now signals growth. This is how mental toughness is built, through repeated exposure to challenge without retreat. People who avoid pressure stay predictable. People who embrace it evolve. They develop depth. They develop calm under stress. They develop the ability to move forward when everything inside them wants to stop. That ability becomes an advantage in every area of life: work, relationships, leadership, self-respect. It all benefits from someone who doesn't crumble under weight. So the next time pressure rises and pain enters the room, don't ask how to escape it, ask how to grow through it. Because the version of you that can handle more pressure is the version that can handle more success. At some point, if you're serious about changing your life, you have to get ruthless with excuses. Not angry, not dramatic, just honest. Excuses are subtle. They don't always sound like quitting. Most of the time, they sound reasonable. They sound responsible. They sound logical. And that's why they're so dangerous. They give you permission to stay exactly where you are while convincing you that you're still trying. An excuse is any story you tell yourself that protects comfort at the cost of growth. It doesn't matter how true it sounds. If it keeps you from doing what you said you would do, it's an excuse. I'm tired. I don't have time. I'll do it when things slow down. I just need to feel more ready. Yule's self-trust. Every time you remove an excuse and take action instead, you send a powerful message to yourself. I do what I say I'll do. That message changes everything. It changes how you see yourself. It changes how others respond to you. It changes the level of responsibility you can handle. Confidence grows quietly through follow-through, not affirmations. You don't need to eliminate every excuse at once. That would overwhelm you. Start by removing one, the one you use most often, the one that shows up right before you quit or delay. Replace it with a decision, not a feeling, a decision. Decide to act first and evaluate later. Momentum comes from movement, not overthinking. As excuses disappear, clarity increases, energy returns, progress becomes visible, not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because you've stopped getting in your own way. You realize that most of the limits you felt were internal, not external. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. This is the turning point. The moment you stop explaining and start executing, the moment you stop negotiating and start committing, the moment excuses lose their authority over your actions, because when excuses are gone, results have no choice but to show up. Mental toughness isn't something you're born with, and it's not something you suddenly discover in a dramatic moment. It's built quietly, daily, through repetition, through choices no one applauds, through moments when quitting would be easier, more comfortable, more familiar, but you don't. Most people think mental toughness shows up only in big crises. The truth is, it's forged in small moments that don't look important at all. Every day gives you opportunities to train your mind. When the alarm goes off and you want to stay in bed, when the work feels boring, when progress feels slow, when your emotions tell you to stop, delay, or escape. These moments are not interruptions to growth. They are the training itself. Mental toughness is simply the ability to act according to your standards, not your moods. Your mind will always try to conserve energy. It's designed to seek comfort and avoid discomfort. That's not weakness, it's biology. But if you let biology lead, you stay average. Training mental toughness means teaching your mind that discomfort is not danger, that effort is not a threat, that resistance is not a signal to stop, but a signal to engage. Most people let their thoughts run unchecked. A negative thought appears and they immediately believe it. I'm tired, this isn't working, I'm not good at this. Thoughts feel real, so they feel true. But thoughts are just suggestions. Mental toughness is learning to observe them without obeying them. You don't argue with every thought. You don't panic. You acknowledge it and you act anyway. This is why consistency matters more than intensity. Intensity is emotional. Consistency is mental. Showing up every day, even at a lower level, trains your mind to trust you. It learns that when you commit, you follow through. That trust creates stability. And stability is the foundation of toughness. A calm, steady mind outperforms a hyped one every time. Mental toughness also means learning how to sit with discomfort without rushing to escape it. Boredom, frustration, doubt. These feelings aren't problems. They're signals that you're stretching beyond what's familiar. Stop expecting immediate results. You stop needing constant reassurance. You understand that progress often feels boring before it feels rewarding. That understanding allows you to stay steady while others quit. And staying steady is a competitive advantage. Mental toughness isn't about being cold or emotionless. It's about being grounded, calm under stress, clear under pressure, focused when things get noisy. It's the ability to pause, breathe, and choose your next move intentionally instead of impulsively. That ability compounds over time. The more you train your mind, the quieter it becomes. Not empty, clear. Less panic, less overthinking, less internal chaos. You stop fighting yourself, you start leading yourself. And leadership always begins internally. Eventually, challenges stop feeling personal. Setbacks don't define you. Criticism doesn't derail you. Obstacles don't intimidate you. You see them as part of the process, not interruptions to it. That perspective keeps you moving when others stall. Mental toughness doesn't make life easy, it makes you durable. It gives you the capacity to carry responsibility without breaking, to face uncertainty without freezing, to continue without needing constant motivation or validation. Train it daily, in silence, in repetition, in small disciplined actions that don't look impressive but change everything. Because when your mind is strong, nothing else needs to be easy. Most people don't fail because they lack talent or opportunity. They fail because they perform only when they're being watched. They work harder when there's an audience, when there's praise, when someone is checking in. But the real work, the work that actually changes your life, happens in moments of complete privacy. No cameras, no applause, no external pressure, just you and the choice to show up anyway. Staying locked in when no one is watching is a mindset shift. It's deciding that your standards don't depend on supervision, that your effort doesn't depend on recognition, that your discipline doesn't disappear the moment accountability fades. This is where integrity lives, not the kind you talk about, but the kind you practice. Doing the work because it matters, not because it will be noticed. It's easy to be motivated when others are cheering you on. It's easy to stay focused when results are visible and progress is obvious. But there will be long stretches where no one sees what you're building, where the effort feels invisible, where the results are delayed. This is where most people drift. They start slowing down, cutting corners, skipping days, not because they decided to quit, but because they stopped feeling watched. Your old self needed external validation to stay consistent. Likes, praise, recognition. Your new self understands something deeper. The person you're becoming is always watching. Every decision is a vote for or against your own identity. And you can't hide from yourself. You know when you're doing the work. You know when you're avoiding it. That awareness becomes your accountability. Locked-in focus means you treat private time as sacred. The early mornings, the late nights, the quiet hours when distractions are minimal. This is where progress compounds. While others are consuming, you're creating. While others are scrolling, you're building. This doesn't make you better than anyone. It just makes you consistent. And consistency wins when talent fades. There's a discipline that only develops in solitude. When you don't have anyone to impress, excuses lose their power. You can't perform for an audience that isn't there. You either do the work or you don't. That simplicity sharpens you. It removes the noise. It forces you to confront your habits honestly. Staying locked in also means resisting the urge to broadcast everything you're doing. Not every effort needs to be shared. Not every goal needs to be announced. Silence protects momentum. When you talk less, you do more. When you explain less, you execute more. Your old self looked for validation. Your new self looks for results. There will be moments when it feels pointless, when you wonder if any of this is making a difference. That doubt is normal. What matters is how you respond to it. Do you slow down or do you double down? Do you wait for reassurance, or do you trust the process you committed to? Locked-in people trust the work, even when the evidence hasn't arrived yet. This mindset builds something rare, self-reliance. You stop depending on deadlines, pressure, or reminders to perform. You become internally driven. You work because it's who you are, not because someone is expecting it. That level of independence makes you dangerous, in the best way, because your progress doesn't stop when attention disappears. Staying locked in also means accepting boredom. Repetition is not exciting. Mastery is repetitive. Growth is repetitive. Most people quit not because things are hard, but because they're dull. They crave novelty, not improvement. Locked-in focus teaches you to find pride in repetition, to respect the process even when it's not stimulating. Over time, something powerful happens. You start trusting yourself more. You know that when you say you'll do something, it gets done, whether anyone sees it or not. That trust creates calm. No anxiety about being exposed. No fear of falling behind. You're steady because your effort is steady. When opportunities finally appear, they often surprise people. You came out of nowhere, they say. But you didn't. You were just working quietly while they weren't paying attention. Success often looks sudden from the outside, but it's always built slowly in private. Staying locked in also prepares you for pressure. When you're used to working without applause, criticism doesn't shake you. Praise doesn't inflate you. You're centered, balanced, focused on the work, not the reaction. That emotional stability becomes a massive advantage when stakes rise. This is how you build real confidence, not from recognition, but from knowing your effort doesn't depend on conditions, not from attention, but from consistency, not from noise, but from quiet commitment. So when no one is watching, don't relax your standards, raise them. That's where the real transformation happens. Finishing strong is more than just a phrase. It's a mindset that separates people who drift through life from those who leave a legacy. Most people start with energy, excitement, and big dreams, but few maintain that momentum until the end. They stumble, slow down, or lose focus along the way. Finishing strong isn't about having more time left in the year. It's about how you use every single moment you have left. It's the difference between a life of half effort and a life full achievement. To finish strong, you have to start by refusing to let fatigue or setbacks define you. Every journey will include challenges, mistakes, and days when you feel depleted. That's inevitable. The question isn't whether hardship will come, it's how you respond when it does. Do you quit, do you settle, or do you push harder, knowing that the finish line is just ahead and the effort you put in now multiplies the value of everything you've done so far? The people who finish strong understand that energy can be cultivated, focus can be renewed, and commitment can be sharpened even when the body or mind is tired. One of the most important truths about finishing strong is that it requires reflection paired with action. You can't move forward blindly. You have to look back at what you've achieved, what's working, and what's holding you back. You have to be honest with yourself about the gaps, the losses, and the moments when you weren't consistent. But reflection alone isn't enough. The real power comes from taking what you learn and applying it immediately, with urgency, without hesitation. Every adjustment you make today compounds your strength for tomorrow. Finishing strong is also about intensifying your focus. The distractions, the noise, the trivialities, they only become more dangerous when the finish line is near. You have to protect your attention fiercely. You have to cut out what doesn't matter and dedicate yourself fully to what does. Every wasted moment chips away at your potential. Every hour spent on meaningless tasks is energy diverted from the culmination of your efforts. To finish strong, you must prioritize relentlessly. You must act with purpose in every decision, no matter how small it seems. Another critical part of finishing strong is embracing resilience. You will encounter moments when things don't go according to plan. You'll face delays, disappointments, and external forces beyond your control. That's not a reason to slow down or quit. It's a reason to double down. Resilience is the skill of continuing in spite of obstacles. It's the recognition that setbacks are temporary, but giving up is permanent. Those who finish strong develop a mental toughness that keeps them moving forward even when everything seems stacked against them. Finishing strong also requires a deep understanding of discipline. You can't rely on bursts of energy or last-minute motivation. Motivation is fleeting, and bursts fade quickly. Discipline is the bridge between goals and results. It's the ability to show up consistently, to honor your commitments, and to maintain the intensity that the finish line demands. When fatigue sets in, discipline carries you. When doubt creeps in, discipline pushes you forward. Discipline ensures that you don't leave your efforts incomplete. Strong is about leaving nothing on the table. It's about honoring your potential and your purpose. It's about stepping into the last stretch of your journey with intensity, focus, and determination, knowing that the effort you put in today becomes the foundation for the next stage of your life. Every choice, every action, every moment counts. You cannot reclaim lost time, but you can maximize every second you have left. When you commit to finishing strong, you ensure that when the year ends, or when any goal is reached, you can look back with pride, knowing that you gave everything you had, and then some. Finishing strong is not optional for those who want greatness. It is the declaration that you will not let circumstances, excuses, or fatigue dictate your results. It is the decision to honor your potential with action, to embrace every challenge as an opportunity, and to close the chapter of your efforts with power, focus, and integrity. Because the way you finish defines the story you leave behind.